Hello and welcome to the news on NTA International. I am Zenret Dingmun. My signed language interpreter is Shegun Ajayi. Let's begin with the headlines. Vice President Kashim Shettima delivers address to world leaders at COP30, charged world leaders to move beyond pledging to perform and for dialogue. European Union announced stricter rules on issuing visas to Russian citizens in a bid to strengthen its security, just as Germany cautions against impending security crisis in Europe. And United Nations World Food Programme says the crisis in Eastern Democratic Republic of the Congo is worsening and creating acute hunger. President Bola Tinubu this Friday received the Sultan of Sokoto, Alhaji Saad Abubakar III. The Sultan, who is also the President General of the Nigerian Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs, met the President at the State House this afternoon. The meeting was private between the President and the religious leader, as the details were not made public. The consultation comes a few days after President Tinubu met with the Archbishop of Abuja Catholic Diocese, Most Reverend Ignatius Kaigama, on a similar meeting. These consultations followed the purported religious persecution in the country. The Sultan earlier joined the Jummah prayer in the State House, where the Imam Al-Haji Abdul Wahid Suleiman Abubakar admonished the faithful to continue to support government's efforts aimed at ensuring peace and security in the country. He described peace as a part of the prerequisites for individual and general development of the society. Now, Nigeria's Vice President Kashim Shettima has charged world leaders to move beyond pledging to performance and from dialogue to taking reasonable action in tackling climate change and its attendant natural disasters that have claimed innocent lives and rendered many homeless across the globe. He stated this during the Leaders' Climate Summit at the ongoing 30th Conference of the Parties in Belém, Brazil. State House correspondent Abdurrahman Jibrila reports.
Vice President Kashim Shettima, representing President Bola Tinubu at this annual climate conference, received by the Brazilian President Lula da Silva, reaffirmed Nigeria's global climate leadership with a commitment to achieving an emission reduction targets of 32% by 2035. The unveiling of the National Carbon Market Framework and Climate Change Fund forms the core of Nigeria's climate finance architecture, designed to attract billions of dollars in clean energy and adaptation investment.
Through these efforts, we are powering small businesses, promoting clean energy, and transforming agricultural waste into opportunity. Nigeria's geography, from the Sahelian plains in the north to the mangroves of the Niger Delta, reflect nature's generosity and reminds us of our responsibility to preserve what sustains us. This is why we are investing in climate-smart agriculture, livestock transformation, and sustainable land use practices that reduce conflict over resources and enhance food security.
Brazil's President Lula da Silva said it will take a collective effort for the world to fight climate change, emphasizing that fighting climate change must be a priority for every government and individual on Earth.
At COP28 in Dubai, countries committed to transition away from fossil fuels. No more greenwashing, no loopholes. We must turn that committing into action while supporting low and middle income developing countries that are highly dependent on fossil fuels.
Nigeria's third national determined contribution, validated and submitted in September 2025, outlines the country's comprehensive strategy across energy, agriculture, transport, waste and industry, as the decade of gas strategy remains pivotal in powering the transition, balancing natural gas utilization with expanded solar and off-grid electrification to drive rural energy access and Sustainable Development. From Belém in Brazil, Abraham Jibrila, NTA News.
The United Nations World Food Programme says the crisis in Eastern Democratic Republic of the Congo is worsening and creating acute hunger, while Tanzania post-election protesters appear in court. Details with Uche Ugochukwu.
The United Nations said Friday that the number of people facing hunger in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo has nearly doubled since 2024. The UN's World Food Programme said a deepening hunger crisis was unfolding in the region, but warned it was only able to reach a fraction of those in need due to acute funding shortages and access difficulties. WFP's DR Congo Country Director Cynthia Jones said people were facing extreme gaps in food consumption and high levels of malnutrition.
This has just had a major impact on the population and on the humanitarian response. And of course, it has devastated livelihood and really put the food security of the affected people in dire circumstances.
Jones said the WFP urgently needed $349 million to continue delivering emergency food and nutrition assistance over the next 6 months. It was facing a complete halt of all emergency food assistance in the eastern provinces. WFP wants an air bridge set up between neighboring Rwanda and the eastern DRC, saying it will be safer, faster and more effective route than from Kinshasa on the other side of the vast nation. In another development, 74 people have been arraigned in a court in Dar es Salaam on charges of having an intention to obstruct the 2025 general election and causing serious damages to government properties. Uche Ugochukwu, NTA News.
The European Union has announced stricter rules on issuing visas to Russian citizens in a bid to strengthen its security, just as Germany cautions against an impending security crisis in Europe. Again, Uche Ugochukwu has details.
The decision for the adoption of stricter rules for issuing visas to Russian nationals is to bring to an end the issuance of multi-entry Schengen permits.
This means Russian nationals will have to apply for a new visa each time they plan to travel to the EU, allowing for a close and frequent scrutiny of the applicants to mitigate any potential security risks.
The visa curbs comes as fears have risen over the threat of what is described as Russian hybrid warfare in the EU after airspace incursions and unexplained drone sightings in numerous countries. Under the new rules, however, there are exceptions for independent journalists and human rights defenders. The bloc had tightened controls on travel by Russian diplomats stationed in the 27 EU countries in new sanctions last month. In the meantime, German Minister of Defense Boris Pistorius has warned of an impending security crisis in Europe during his speech at the Brunswick conference amid a national debate on the exact form that new military service might take. Pistorius said Europe is living through a situation that would have been considered impossible a few years ago. European powers have been on alert since Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022 and a spate of drone incursions in recent months, as well as U.S. promises to move away from defending the continent, has pushed the issue to the top of the agenda. Uche Ugochukwu, NTA News.
Now, a forum on the promotion of sustainable renewable energy, green infrastructure with clean ecosystem for job creation under a partnership between Nigeria and the European Union is underway at the National Assembly. Isa Mohammed has details.
The engagement provides a platform for stakeholders to explore opportunities from European investors and leveraging on transfer of technology in a commitment to transform the Nigerian economy.
We have so many Nigerians, both here and in the diaspora, that are stepping up to the plate. Innovations through technology and various business solutions to how we can ensure prosperity for every one of our citizens.
Our mission is simple. Help these partnerships that we've built to translate to real impact in Nigeria through partnerships with its government institutions.
To the government agencies, the engagement across various sectors of the economy align with the Renew Hope agenda of the present administration and global best practices.
Through collaboration, innovation, and mutual trust, we can build bridges of opportunity that transcend borders and deliver tangible benefits to our citizens.
Similarly, House Committee on Nigerian and United States Legislative Friendship has engaged some private investors on the financial inclusion program of the federal government to open up ways of accessing global funds, special purpose grants, and creating jobs to Nigerians. From the National Assembly, Isa Muhammad, NTA News.
Now, the Nigeria police have put in place a strategic plan to ensure a hitch-free poll and deal decisively with any form of activity capable of disrupting the governorship election in Anambra State, scheduled for November 8 this year. Inspector General of Police Kayode Egbetokun disclosed this after carrying out a symbolic sword turning for the construction of a conference hall at the police command in Lagos. Musa Toliat completes the story.
The arrival of the 22nd Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, at the Lagos State Police Command is honored with a quarter guard. Thereafter, he proceeded to the site to signal the commencement of construction project of a 200-capacity conference center to be named after him.
It's going to be a multi-layer block that will serve as a conference center and will serve other purposes in the command.
Done with the event, IGP Egbetokun sheds light on police readiness for the November 8th governorship election in Anambra State. He also speaks on new initiatives aimed at strengthening security architecture to defeat banditry and various organized crime across the country.
We are fully prepared to provide security for the election in Anambra. We have completed our deployment. 2 DIGs are already on ground, supervising all the security agencies deployed for this election. Voters in Anambra should come out to cast their vote. A level playing ground is going to be provided for all the candidates. The Nigerian police does not have a candidate in this election. Our commitment and our loyalty is to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. For us to secure this country, we must all come together. We must all believe in ourselves. And we must shun fake news. Enough of falsehood. When people spread falsehood against security institutions that are providing security, they are weakening the resolve of the nation.
The IGP reassured Nigerians that police formations and commands have been directed to put in place adequate security measures to keep Nigerians safe during and beyond the Yuletide season. In Lagos, Musa Toliat, NTA News.
And in a demonstration of renewed strategic resolve to stamp out insurgency and restore peace to the northeast, the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Y.D. Shaibu, has embarked on an operational visit to the Joint Task Force Northeast Operation Hadinkai Theatre, Maiduguri, Borno State. In a statement by the Acting Director, Army Public Relations, Lieutenant Colonel Apollonia Anili, Lieutenant General Y.D. Shaibu charged troops to sustain pressure on the remnants of insurgents to complete elimination. He emphasized the need to decisively deal with the insurgents to facilitate normalcy in the region, while creating enabling atmosphere for socio-economic recovery and development across the northeast.
All combat enablers have been provided, new platforms have been introduced, all to ensure that you succeed in defending operations.
The Army Chief, who assessed the operational readiness of formations and units, reaffirmed his commitment to providing the necessary platforms, logistics and welfare incentives to enhance troop morale and combat efficiency is upscaled. The visit is in line with the directive of the presidential directive to reinvigorate and consolidate on the gains made in the counter-terrorism operations towards total annihilation of terrorists in the northeast. We'll take a break now. More reports when we return. Stay tuned.
constitutionally, every Nigerian is guaranteed the right to freedom of faith, meaning that whether you are Muslim or you are Christian, you are free to practice your faith in our country. But you also have to see the activities of government, what government has done, especially in the last 2 years. Of course, successive governments have tried. In the last 2 years, there has been a renewed focus. Renewed attention has been put to ensure that Nigeria becomes safe. But it's also wrong to characterize Nigeria as a country that does not tolerate religious freedom. It's also wrong to say that everywhere is not safe in Nigeria. Nigeria is indeed a safe country. The government of Nigeria is working hard to ensure protection of lives and properties, and also ensuring that people go about their businesses. You have to recognize that there is a massive drive by government to ensure that Nigeria is ultimately safe for everyone.
Thanks for staying tuned. Now, the Deputy Majority Leader, House of Representatives, Abdullahi Ibrahim Ali, has been speaking on the ongoing constitution amendment process in the House of Representatives. Ali, who represents Ankpa or Mala Olama Boro Federal Constituency, says state creation is one of the priorities of the 10th House, driven by the need to meet the aspirations of Nigerians.
Various states are craving for more states. I am even one of them. It is our desire, the entire Igala Basa Kingdom, to have a state of their own. We want further development.
The House Deputy Leader also notes that lawmakers are giving serious consideration to the proposal for additional parliamentary seats dedicated to women as part of efforts to promote gender balance.
People's desire is what we give to them. You can now see that, yes, the atmosphere is full of desire for more seats for women. That's democracy. And the women are lobbying so fast.
The Constitution review process unfolds. The House says it remains committed to reforms that strengthen representation and deepen democracy. Now, the Federal High Court Abuja Division has fixed 20th November 2025 to deliver its verdict in the case of Terrorism Act preferred against the leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu. Justice James Omotosho gave the date after the defendant again failed to enter his defense. Judiciary correspondent Austin Anyebe reports.
Going by the order of the court on Wednesday, the defendant Nnamdi Kanu was to enter his defense this Friday. However, instead of the defendant to enter his defense, he chose to file a motion which he attached the records of the court to. Moving the motion, Kanu claimed he cannot be tried under the Terrorism Prevention and Prohibition Act, which was repealed, as the Supreme Court has directed the prosecution to amend the charge which it failed to comply with. He therefore prayed the court to dismiss the entire charge, alleging there is no existing law upon which he's been tried. The prosecution counsel Adeboyega Awomolu, senior advocate of Nigeria, in his reply said he cannot file any counter affidavit, saying he relied on the records of the court and urged the court to adopt the motion moved by the defendant as his final written address in the matter. Justice James Omotosho, having heard from both parties, chronicled the entire processes where he enumerated the numbers of adjournments at the instance of the defendant when the prosecution was presenting its evidence, the ruling of the court on no case submission, the panel's report on his health, and the window granted the defendant to enter his defense. The court, he said, in the interest of justice, granted him 6 days to enter his defense, but the defendant still maintained that there is no case against him. He then ruled that the motions filed on the 30th of October and 7th of November 2025 by the defendant shall be considered in his final judgment, but the defendant has waived his right to defend himself and consequently adjourned the case to the 20th of November 2025 for judgment. From the Federal High Court, Abuja, Austin Anyebe, NTA News.
Now, the National Council on Agriculture has recommended the establishment of cottage and small-scale agro-processing industries for cocoa, cassava and grains in all local government areas across the country. The Council also recommends a policy to ban the use of chemicals for ripening fruits and vegetables. Musa Babaliu has details.
The National Council on Agriculture meeting was chaired by the Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, Abubakar Kyari.
Agriculture is the measure of our nation's resilience and the foundation of our collective renewal.
Memoranda from the federal ministries, state governments, research institutions, and private sector stakeholders were presented and thoroughly deliberated upon. Key approvals and recommendations from the 47th meeting include adoption of memorandum on enhanced synergy among federal, state and local governments for effective implementation of agricultural policies and programs. Approval for the establishment of a national program for the control of tuta absoluta, commonly known as tomato Ebola. Recommendation for a total ban on the use of harmful chemicals on fruits and vegetables was also adopted and approved. The Council also endorsed a proposal for a large-scale commercial production of melon, cucumber and other high-value fruits for both local consumption and export markets.
The establishment of small-scale agro-processing industries for cocoa, cassava, tomato, rice and legumes fruit series across agro-processing zones in the 36 states and FCT to address post-harvest losses.
However, the memorandum presented by Kaduna State seeking to include ginger in the mandate of the Institute for Agricultural Research, IAR, Ahmadu Bello University Zaria, was not approved.
We are still appealing that it be considered.
The 47th National Council on Agriculture meeting closed with Enugu State designated to host the 48th session. From Kaduna, Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
Now, the Nigerian Institute for Hospitality, Tourism Operators and Regulators is set to launch its flagship gastronomy festival, Oriki, a celebration of Nigeria's rich culinary heritage and cultural sustainability to celebrate the essence of Nigerian royalty through food, storytelling and community engagement. Glory Agbo reports that at an event held in Abuja, top tourism officials, media experts and food enthusiasts gathered to outline the festival's vision, program highlights and expected impacts on Nigeria's tourism and economy, as it will feature a Guinness World Record attempt for the longest dining table, a Nigerian royal banquet experience of more than 3,000 diners expected.
It is absolutely amazing how Nigerians are able to create their creativity, to continue to project us and use our own strength and might to continue to define us as a people, as opposed to others filling in the gaps with all the negativity that does not define who we are as a people.
What is kind of Oriki is actually the tone of the event for this year. We're actually doing a real dining experience. The idea of that is to go on a time travel experience down legacy lane, of our culture. So Oriki helps us to show light on forgotten traditions.
In every tradition, especially in Africa, we know food is where people centralize. Even in the West, people make big meetings around dinner, around lunches. So food is a rallying point. I think Nigerians not just like food, but have a lot of varieties of food, and it's a sign of our unity that you'll be able to come and eat from another person's delicacy. I would think every Nigerian would like to see that. It will only but bring us together.
In the morning of 6th, we would have achieved the Guinness World Record by having the longest table. By that evening, the longest table will now be used as a dining table. There will be food from over 60 recipes that will be displayed. It's not particularly for any chef, it's for our food.
Now, the newly appointed Minister of Innovation, Science and Technology, Kingsley Tochukwu Ude, has officially assumed office, pledging to drive Nigeria's scientific and technological advancement to new heights. Ude's appointment by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu signals a bold new direction for the ministry, with a strong focus on youth-driven innovation, local capacity building, and creating a dynamic environment for research and technological development. Upon assuming office, the minister highlighted his commitment to implementing policies aligned with the Renewed Hope agenda, emphasizing collaboration with stakeholders across government, academia, and industry. The minister stressed that innovation will be the cornerstone of his administration, aimed at positioning Nigeria as a global leader in science, technology, and innovation. The permanent secretary, who was represented Now, President Bola Tinubu has extended his warm greetings to His Royal Highness Mohammed Haliru Dantoro Kitoro, the 4th Mai Borgo, Emir of Borgo Kingdom, as he marks 10 years on the throne. President Tinubu's congratulatory message, signed by Bayo Ananuga, Special Advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, said, as the Jagaban of the Kingdom, he joins the government and people of Niger State, the Niger State Council of Traditional Rulers, the Borgo Emirate Council, and family members to celebrate with the Royal Father, whose legacy of selfless leadership continues to resonate among indigenes and beyond. The President recognizes the efforts of the Royal Father in promoting peace, harmony, and tolerance in his domain, particularly in accommodating citizens from other parts of the country, and in constantly mobilizing and sensitizing them to civic responsibilities. President Tinubu notes the wisdom, maturity, and diligence of the Emir of Borgu in sustaining cultural and traditional values, bringing his versatile experience as a former secretary of the council, a highly traveled private and public sector leader, entrepreneur, and legal luminary to shape the worldview of the people. The President prays for the well-being of the Emir and the prosperity of the kingdom as they celebrate the 10th anniversary of the Royal Father. Similarly, President Bola Tinubu extends warmest felicitations to Dr. Reuben Abati, renowned journalist and former presidential advisor, on his 60th birthday on November 7, 2025. A public intellectual, author, columnist, law graduate, and broadcaster, Dr. Abati has distinguished himself wherever he has traversed, in the university as a student and later as a graduate assistant, as chairman of the editorial board of The Guardian, and as a writer and presently a television anchor, the President said in a statement personally issued by him. President Tinubu commends Dr. Abati for his service to Nigeria as Special Advisor on Media and Publicity to former President Goodluck Jonathan, as well as his outstanding contributions to the media. President Bola Tinubu has congratulated Omoyemi Akerele, founder of the Lagos Fashion Week, on winning the 2025 Earthshot Prize. Ms. Akerele's Lagos Fashion Week emerged as the only African enterprise and one of the 5 winners of the £5 million Earthshot Prize for 2025 at the awards ceremony at the Museum of Tomorrow in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, on Wednesday. And that's it on the news. Thanks for watching.